overall thoughts, eh? So this is gonna sound like, it's almost gonna sound like a podcast, to be honest. It's gonna sound like a podcast in a sense of like what I felt overall in the whole event and how it led up to this moment. So yeah, it's gonna basically sound like my own version of episode of the Refill Studio, but it's just me interviewing myself and me blabbering. So why this event, right? Why School Excursion? Well, in my heart, like I always really wanted to see the third years graduate. Like I think ever since like the third year or fourth year of the game coming out, like somewhere around that time, I was like, these third years got to graduate. Well, I want to see them go into college. I always see them like learn a new life there, right? I always thought that this was something that they could do, and they never age up, right? And then Bushu would always tease us and be like, hey, yeah, these girls are gonna age up, and like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool, bet. Okay, let's see if they age up. And he never did for like the longest time. I was like, come on, please. So when this event got announced, this was basically like the first event that really kind of hinted towards, okay, these third years are going to eventually graduate and are eventually going to move on with their lives. And they start off with this event, which features Sayo, Aya, Chisato, Rinko, and Kanon. And out of these third years, right, I like these pair of five third years more than the other five. Although I really love Yukina, Lisa, Maya, Kaoru, and Hina. I love all of them as well, but yeah, I like this group a little bit more. Sayo, Aya, definitely biases in there as well. So when I saw this event, I'm like, I have to tier this one. You know, I have to tier this because, you know, I gotta do it for the third years, right? Because this is like the first event. I had to graduate. It's like, okay, they're gonna graduate soon. We're seeing it now, so I gotta tier for it. And I mentioned in like a podcast episode before, I'm like, if an event features Sayo, Chisato, Aya, Kanon, and Rinko, like I'm tiering it. And then, like a few months later, maybe not a few months later, I think about a year later, then they actually announced this event. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. So I decided, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Let's try and go for this event, see how it goes. I really did not know what to expect, and I just wanted to jump into it and see how it felt, right? You know, before this event, I did a lot of tiering, right? I did a lot of tiering. One of my most recent achievements, not really, was Melody of the Dignified Wind. I got T5 there. I got 5th place there. And that was a pretty interesting experience because that T10 was pretty relaxed. I played for like a pretty good rush in the beginning and then kind of cruised through away and was pretty easy. That was recent, but that was my biggest achievement, and that was a year and a half ago. And then like between then and now, I really haven't done a lot of tiering. Like before Dignified, I was doing a lot of tiering. Like I was doing a lot of T100s and such like that. So I don't know, preparations. So basically once I knew I was gonna tier that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna save as many stars as possible and then go from there. So my preparations for this event included the following. Well, I had to first check my team and make sure it was an optimal team. Once I realized that someone was competing, in this case it was Kay, was competing for this event, I was like, okay, I gotta make sure I at least have optimal team, right? So I gotta make sure I have optimal and make sure it's good to go. So I had, okay, let's check my team real quick. This is my team. Okay, so this team is like nowhere close to where I had before. I think when I first started, when I'm gonna try and tier this event, the only card I had was this Kanon. I didn't have any of the other cards. So I'm like, okay, we gotta first start by building the cards here. So Sayo I got through the limited Dreamfest miracle ticket, I think. Yeah, I got the miracle ticket for Sayo to get the Dreamfest. I did the other miracle ticket for the Rinko. And then actually Title Idol Aya I actually got earlier as well. So Aya was the other one I already had as well. It was Title Idol Aya. I got her during Title Idol. But I decided to just randomly pull on Dreamfest Aya. I got her on the first 10 pulls, and I'm like, okay, this is better, so we're gonna replace her with that. And the last thing was the Chisato. So the Chisato had two options. I could either get the New Year's Chisato, which was a lower score, but it was probably easier to get because I had like free tickets and such, or I could wait until this event and pull for the event Chisato. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait until the event Chisato because it's better. It will spend a few extra minutes in the start to do it, and everything's okay. But then, like literally like 2 minutes, like a day before the event, literally a day before the event, I was like, wait a second, I had 50 of these like free tickets. I had 50 of these free tickets, and I couldn't use them because it was Dreamfest banner, because you can't use them on Dreamfest banner. I didn't know it was a Dreamfest banner. I was like, oh no. So like, instead I had to go through all my star supply, and luckily again I was basically saving like mega crazy. Like I didn't spend on any gacha or spend on anything, like try to minimize the amount of stars I use for tiering. So I ended up going into the event with triple K stars. Okay, I had more than 100,000 free stars in stock getting ready for this event. So it was actually free stars, like unironically, it was free stars. If you looked at it, it was free stars. You have to trust me on it. It was free stars. No paid, it was all free. So I saved all those stars, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll have enough stars to, you know, worst case scenario, spark Chisato, and then use the remaining stars and whatever cans I have to try and tier, right? So, and then in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's see what I could do to prepare for this event. I didn't know exactly what to do, like necessarily. I didn't really consult with anyone. A lot of the advice I got from like people going for T1 are advice that I hear from other people when I'm doing the podcast, right? So when I'm doing the podcast, I'm interviewing people, asking them, how did you prepare for the event? And a part of it was kind of learning how they prepare, so then maybe I could look into what I could do myself to prepare. So that was pretty interesting. But ultimately, to me, I kind of set my expectations low. You know, I was going against someone who is very experienced in tiering, and also in my server, I had someone else who's sort of competing within the server to get T1, and you know, it was me and Baked Goods, and we both agreed that we'll compete for it as a friendly competition to kind of push each other, and try and give each other motivation to try and possibly get T1. One of us will eventually get T1, so yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah, so that was sort of the reasoning why we had two people in my server actually going for T1, because we wanted to kind of use that as a way to motivate each other and push each other for that to happen. And what ended up happening as well is that our roster was really small. It only ended up being me, Baked Goods, Pastry, who was going to go for T1, and then told me he was not going to do it, so he wanted to join my server. So I did that. I'm like, okay, let's get T10 for you. And I also asked Crane Shrek, because he asked me before, and the roster at the time was full, because we had people like Sal, we had Tasha, we had Skitter, all had interest in T10, and they all eventually had their own ideals, and nothing really worked out. So I didn't necessarily want it, I felt like the roster in the other server might have been a lot bigger, and I didn't want it to put in a situation where it was like a really like difficult T10 for other people, and I just wanted to control a little things better. So even though we only dropped the 4 people, I was like, that's fine. I think we'll be able to manage and work with that. So in my mind, I already had flashes that the competing roster might have been really big, so I just wanted to keep it small so that it's easier to control and just make sure that we could all promote each other and help each other in our goals as quickly as possible. Pastry was also actually going to go for T1, but then he decided to go for Avalon instead and decided not to go for this event. So that's why he messaged me. It's like, oh, can I just join as a T10 spot? So I was thinking, man, if I'm going to fight against K and Pastry and someone in my server to go for T1, I was already kind of demotivated. Let's be honest. I'll be completely honest, guys. Like, out of the 4, I was definitely easily the least experienced tier. Like, everyone's like, oh, Phil, he's an experienced tier. He makes all this content and stuff. But guys, I've only done one T10 attempt, which was freaking Melody of the Dignified Wind, which was a year and a half ago. I've never done anything else since. Like, when I do like a T50 or T100, I go like for an overshoot. I'm like really high up, like anywhere between like 12th to like 17th. But that's not really like T10 hours and such, right? So I actually never really did a lot of actual like really legitimate long-term tiering. So, this prospect did kind of scare me, right? The fact that I had to fight with like so many like experienced tiers, and I was like, I'll push myself to go for T1. If I don't get it, to me, I thought to myself, it's not the end of the world if I don't get it, right? So that's just how it is. Yeah, so that's how the roster construction came up to be. Again, I didn't really focus too much on trying to build a lengthy roster. I had some other people that shared interest, and I don't think they ended up moving forward with it after all. There were some people, again, that shared interest on going for T10, and when I messaged, it really didn't materialize too much. So, that's just how it is. Honestly, moments before this event, I was thinking, okay, it was going to be Me and Baked Goods trying to go for T1. I know Kay was going to go for T1. I was initially thinking there was someone else in the roster going for podium, and honestly, I thought it was Yukio. I was pretty certain it was going to be Yukio trying to go for podium, but then the moment I saw he was doing exam Dore, I'm like, okay, maybe not. Maybe he isn't. So that also gave me a little bit of like reassurance throughout the event, because it's like, okay, as my fallback option, I'll have a podium, which is like not the, obviously I'll take that. That's perfectly fine. So the event starts, okay? The event starts, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go. Now, prior to the event start, I was working. I woke up pretty early. I woke up around like 7:30 to do work. I had to go to work. I came back from work and I didn't do any naps either. I was just like prepping for like this event, and I was like getting ready to go and go for it. So I was like, basically when the event started, I was already up for about like 9 hours. The event starts and I'm like, okay, first things first is I have to get the gacha, because I told you earlier that I had to go for the Chisato gacha. So what happened is after 20 pulls, I got the Toko. I got the DF Toko. After about 60 pulls, I got the DF Hagumi. And I think about 100 pulls late in, I got into the Sayo, the event Sayo. But I'm like, that's all the raid ups, but that's not the Chisato. So I kept going. I kept pulling. I kept pulling. So I kept pulling. And I ended up getting 2 copies of Toko, or 3 copies of Toko rather. I got a lot of other 4 stars, like random 4 stars, like a lot. I actually got like maybe like 7 or 8, like other ones. So I was really lucky in that aspect, but I just didn't get the Chisato. I couldn't get the Chisato to save my life because I needed her for the event. So in the end, I had to pull 300. I had to spark for Chisato. And I got like 2 copies of Sayo, 3 copies of Toko, and a whole bunch of other 5 stars. I had to spark for Chisato. So yeah. Shadow Shake, welcome. So earlier in the stream, I mentioned I had triple K stars. I had triple K free stars, not even paid. They're all free stars. And I went through like almost all of it because I had to spark. I was 3 games behind and I was already depleted on my stars basically. So I was like, oh, that hurts. That hurts a lot. Now, I had a lot of cans, a lot of cans. So I was perfectly fine for the time being. Then the next issue came up. The next issue came up about the event was the fact that there was a different system in the VS Live. And I did not know that, because I'm so sort of out of touch about this game that I didn't know they changed the formula for VS Live. So VS Live before, it was really okay, even okay to like 2-man, right? Because if you 2-man, you still get pretty like ideal or optimal points, because as long as, you know, people are playing and you're not wasting time, and it's actually relatively efficient. But we had this V3 VS Live, and that really sunk our plans like super crazy. I did not know the EP difference between first and second is that huge. So what ended up happening was me, Baked Goods, Pastry were all in the same room with 2 other fillers. Craig Trek was in his own room because he understood that his device was laggy, so he didn't want to hold us back and played in his own room. But in hindsight, what we should have done is we should have put me or Baked with Crane and separated us, because we underestimated how much EP gain was that. So what ended up happening was Pastry was stopping on us. Me and Baked Goods would trade second and third place, and we were getting nowhere. We were getting like 2 more songs per hour. We were getting 29 songs per hour, and we were losing ground. We were just like, what's going on? Why are we losing ground? And it's like, oh, that EP difference is actually so huge. So that's why when I'm sure the other server, when they saw Pastry was memeing on the fact that he was going for it, and this was a meme, right? This was a meme that like he's gonna try and scare them and say that he was going for T1. He wasn't gonna go for T1, but he wanted to scare the other server. So and he was stomping on us. He actually eventually got first place at some point in the event. So it was like so funny. Yeah, well, we all got caught pretty flat-footed by V3 for sure. I totally underestimated how much impact that would be. So we were playing super hard to try and be super efficient, but we were just not gaining ground. So the event goes, Pastry had to leave because he was not feeling well. So Pastry was done. He was pretty much done his T10 grind after the first 9 hours, and then we kept going. For me, what ended up happening was I went for 23 hours. Okay, so basically 5 o'clock p.m. that's when the event, or 5 o'clock p.m. is when the event started. So I went from 5 p.m. to 4 p.m. the next day, no non-stop. We were just playing for that long. Now at that point, at 4 p.m. the following day, I was already up for about, like, even though I've been playing for 23 hours, I've already actually been up for about 33 hours. So I was like, you know what? This is too much, right? Like, this is not like something I wanted to necessarily push myself on. I felt in my mind, I actually didn't feel that tired, but I was just like, okay, I gotta set some boundaries here, because if I burn myself off too early, it's gonna cost me in the end later in the event. So I'm like, okay, let's just rest up, get 3 hours of sleep, and come back and try again. So obviously I knew that if I'm gonna sleep, then I'm gonna start losing ground on K, I'm gonna start losing ground on baked goods, but I wasn't too worried, right? I wasn't too worried, to be honest, about that, because I was like seeing, oh, I had such a lead over Yukio, I had a lead over everyone else. I was like, oh, I think we're fine. I woke up 3 hours later, did another 22-hour grind. So basically within a 48-hour stretch, I played about 46 hours, with a little bit of sleep. So honestly, I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud about that. I'll be completely honest, guys. I did not expect myself to be able to push that far. And again, a 3-hour break in the middle, I think, really does help, right? It is 3 hours less of time that you could have used this play, but like, I felt it was worth it, right? I totally felt it was worth it. So I ended up playing about basically 48 hours straight with a little bit of break in between. So for a lot of people, everyone's health is a little bit different, right? So in my mind, when I was thinking about my health, I was thinking the one thing I was most afraid of was maybe I'll get carpal tunnel. Like my hands will just completely like destroy itself, right? I was worried about that. I was worried about my device actually just logging out of the game randomly, but it never actually happened, which was surprising because I see it happen sometimes like when I just normally play, but it was played for like 22 hours. It didn't like break at any time, which was like really fortunate. In terms of health, I was also worried about just my lack of sleep and just the fact that I'll probably be like really dizzy, like a little nauseous, probably hallucinating. So that was the one thing I was like most worried about. Now, funny enough, I think in terms of my hands, they were actually perfectly fine. Like my left arm was pretty sore for like the most of the event, but like nothing egregious or anything crazy. Like I did a little bit of stretches here and there. It was perfectly fine. And then, you know, I wouldn't be like, let's say, on VC for too long, because I knew if I was on VC for too long, I'd be sitting for too long. So like I would just be like moving around. Like when it's the daytime, I would move around, walk around the house with my iPad, right? I'd be playing with my iPad. I'd be playing thumbs. I'd just walk around, stand up and play, walk to a different place, stand up and play in a different place, like a different counter in the kitchen. And then I come back and sit down. And if I have to toilet dory, I toilet dory, because you can toilet dory, guys. Toilet break doesn't mean you stop playing the game. Toilet dory means to continue playing the game. And yeah, I would just like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily sit on this seat right here and just play nonstop, because I knew that was really going to be unhealthy. So that helped me and also kind of stretch my arms around. So overall, in terms of like physical health, it really wasn't that bad. Wow, mentally, it was tough. It was difficult. Like, again, I've never really did all-nighters before. So like basically doing an all-nighter and a little bit more was not easy. So mentally, it was really tiring. There were definitely moments where like, you would like, for whatever reason, like there'll be moments where you're just sitting there and you're just like, you just can't play to save your life. Like I remember telling myself in the beginning of the event, there's no way. Like I see people die on special difficulty like constantly of A2Z. I'm like, no way people are gonna do that, right? Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I could play A2Z so well. And then like there was points in the event where like I was like legitimately dying. I was just like, I couldn't like play at all to save my life. Like the notes wouldn't hit, nothing registered, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, oh. And it just kind of felt like notes were like coming into you, and like you would try to hit it, and it would like stall, right? The note would stall, and you're like, did I hit it? And then suddenly you miss like 5 notes at once. I'm like, what? You're just like, oh my god, this is so difficult. So I did ended up switching to like, you know, normal difficulty at times. After the first 3-hour sleep, right? I was thinking I was gonna play from like 7 o'clock. So it was 7:30 p.m. in my time. I thought I was gonna play until around. I was thinking at around until maybe like 6 in the morning and then sleep again, right? I would only play for like 12 hours and then sleep again. So I honestly thought that was gonna happen. And then, and you know, people in my chat are like, or my server, they're like, you're crazy. You're trying to go for T1 and you're already gonna be sleeping twice before the other two people have ever even slept yet. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if I need to sleep, I'll sleep, right? but then it was funny because like, as I was approaching the second, in my second wave, right? It was like 7:30 p.m. I was feeling fine. And then once it hit around like 5 a.m., right? About like 10 hours later, I was really starting to feel it. I was just like, oh no, I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't see stuff. The notes were like not coming, like were not registering at all. Things were just coming too fast. I just couldn't hit the notes at time at all. I couldn't read it at all. And oh, the hallucinations. So some people have some crazy hallucinations where they see Bandery like on the walls, or like when they're walking around, they just see Bandery A to Z like map coming down the walls after them in 3D. I didn't see that, but my hallucinations, just as a share, my hallucinations involved the portraits in the back, right? The chibis, the 5 chibis in the back, and the little background silhouette. There's a little bit of like a green stint in there. So what my hallucinations ended up being was that green stint and those chibis all disappeared, and it was like a green screen, right? It was like an A to Z was like green screen on whatever thing I could imagine was there. So like if I was somehow thinking about airplanes, suddenly airplanes were like on the screen while I was playing A to Z, like in the background. And I was like, what the heck's going on? One time I was playing it under the kitchen lights, and the kitchen lights were reflecting on my iPad, and the kitchen lights looked like frying pans. So suddenly my brain was thinking that it was frying pans, and then there was like frying pans flipping food and stuff while I was just like, I can't believe it. I was just like, this is insane. So like, you know, any thought that just came up, it would just get green screened onto the game, and then like I would just like, I wouldn't see the chibis. The chibis somehow sometimes became animals as well. Like the Sayo and Aya chibi would like come together and become like a sheep or something. It was weird. It was weird. Yeah, hallucinations is definitely a thing once you're up for like a very certain period of time. So I was initially thinking, oh my god, I have to sleep, right? It's 6 a.m. I'm still hallucinating. Things are going wrong. But then I thought about something, right? I thought about some advice that people gave me. It's like, okay, play at a lower difficulty, play at a lower speed, try and collect your thoughts and get back to it, right? So I'm just like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I think I'm actually going to sleep again, like, at the 36-hour mark. I'm going to sleep twice in the 36-hour mark, which is pretty much a fail. Like, you're pretty much not going to get T1 anymore. But basically what happened was, like, I was playing normal difficulty, and I was still struggling, right? I was playing slower. I was still struggling. I'm going to give a big shout out to Uncle Roger, because it was already like 7 in the morning and his videos were up, right? And he posted a video. I'm like, all right, let's watch this video. And I watched this video, his new video, and it's whatever reason, suddenly I just like woke up. I just woke up. Like, I was like, I just kind of thought about it, and then just like, okay, I think I feel good again. So I went back to special A to Z, and the muscle memory like all came back again. And I was just like, oh my god, this is what they call the second wind. This is what they call the second wind. Like, when people say, oh, like, if you're feeling tired, just kind of push through, because you never know when that second wind will hit you, and suddenly you're back on track again, and you're all back to speed. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and go for it. So using the advice that people told me, like, okay, keep playing, play at lower difficulties, right? Just keep pushing through until you see that second wind. And then once I heard Uncle Roger, like, the second wind immediately hit. And I was like, I was playing like perfect again. I was like, what the heck? Crazy. So like the second wind hit, and I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm not going to sleep now. I'm going to go for another 24 hours, basically. So I went basically until the 48-hour mark. From there was a lot of moments where I was starting to feel bad again. But again, it was the weekend. I was really fortunate that it was the weekend. It was a Saturday. It was a Sunday. I had all the time in the house to just wander around, nothing to do. And you know, you just kind of work on that and focus on it. So One thing also I forgot to mention, no caffeine. I did not drink any energy drinks, no energy drinks whatsoever. I had a coffee in the morning. I always have a coffee in the morning, so this is like a daily routine. It's not like anything special. But other than that, during the event, all I drank was water. Water. Maybe the occasional tea, which had maybe a little bit of caffeine, but like no energy drinks. I did not do that. It was all through sheer willpower. Yeah, so I did not consume a single energy drink. I knew this energy drinks were the bane of Devil's existence. Shout outs to Sprite, because when he did it, oh my goodness, terrible. Like, there were so many horror stories. I think that scarred me from like doing that scarred me from doing the any sort of energy drinks, to be honest. I ended up doing the event without using any energy drinks, so any sort of like energy supplement is just sleep, good rest, good motivation, and just, I think a lot of the times when you put a lot of stress and pressure on yourself, it could really like make your energy levels and really make it even more difficult for you in the end run, right? I think I sort of took off the pressure for myself. Like, okay, well, if I'm already this behind, might as well just do what I can, pace myself, and do what I can to just play as much as possible. I also had work. Like, I didn't take time off work, so on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I was actually working, but like literally during work, because I work from home, I literally just worked Dory. Like, I would do like maybe like 2 hours of work, and I'm like, okay, we're back to playing BanG, and then just ditch work for the rest of the day. So people think it's pretty crazy, but again, I took myself to like, you know, breathe, right? So for instance, like on the Monday, like I would work a bit, and that's why on Monday I didn't really play a lot. Like on Monday I did a lot of work. Then I went outside. I actually went outside and walked. I took a walk with my brother, and it was great. I was just like, okay, 30 minutes away, like whatever, right? I don't care. We come back, play some BanG, and then like, you know, do some Ittori and just keep playing sets. So what ended up happening, and I think this is another regret I have in this event, was me and Baked Goods, right? We were supposed to pressure each other and give ourselves motivation to actually push each other to do well and maybe push ourselves to, for one of us to get T1, right? Now, with the V3 system of scoring, that really made it difficult for us to be in the same room, right? Because if you're in the same room, we're going to be trading. And the worst thing is that Baked Goods and I would actually trade who gets first and who gets second, just because of who plays more consistently. So we would actually trade. And because we keep trading first and second, our overall gain on average, we're both losing ground on K, right? So by doing that, we're basically sabotaging each other on our chances. So at that point, then it's like, oh, well, I guess we'll now have to separate rooms and play in separate rooms. The problem is that we didn't have really a big enough sort of support group that we sort of collected to really merit having 2 full rooms. That's essentially 4 fillers, right? You can't have like 4, you can't really 3-man, you can't really 4-man, 5-man's ideal. So what ended up happening is that, you know, because of health concerns and such, it just really wasn't feasible. And then like at that point, we've already kind of pooled all our resources to maybe try and give Baked a push to try and compete for the T1. So once that was decided that that wasn't the case, then it was pretty much over, right? So I mean, I obviously could have still attempted, but at that point I was already kind of chilling, not really with the sentiment of like necessarily competing for it, and I was perfectly okay with that, right? So I think I could have done a lot better to plan this out, did a lot better to at least support Baked a little bit better on this, but overall though, you know, that's kind of how it is. It's a learning experience. So tiering is not something you just go right into it and hope it goes well. I think the way that we try to approach this event needed a lot more planning, a lot more calculative thought process, which we didn't really do. So I do feel kind of bad, but overall, this is, you know, that's just how it is. And it's something I learned. So again, at that point, I knew that, okay, well, perhaps I could go make a push for it. At that point, K was already like, what, 3 million ahead of me? So I was like, do I really want to make a push for it? And then I kind of thought about it a bit more. I'm like, nah, I don't think it's worth it. I think I want to save some of my resources. Like, actually, funny enough, my initial park that I wanted to go, I was like, I want to go for 20 million. I want to go for 20 million because I want to go for 2003, which is 2003. That is Sayo's birthday, March 20th. And then I would do 1603 after, which would be Kudoharu's birthday, which is March 16th. So I wanted to do that kind of park at 20 million. And I had the resources to do it, surprisingly, even though I burned all my stars for Sparking Chisato, because I had so many cans and I had to go through Marina's box. So Marina's box is a fun adventure too. I would be like, going outside. While I'm outside, I'm doing Marina's box. While I'm like during work, I would do Marina's box. So like, as you can see, I've already used up all the Marina's box. So, I got pretty much most of my tiering just through Marina's box. I didn't spend a single dollar in this event. All free stars, all through the old cans I got, and of course, Marina's box was a crazy thing. Was a pretty crazy thing overall, but I managed to go through all the boxes myself, which is pretty insane. So when I had the time, I would always Marina box, and then people would tell me like, there's no reason you shouldn't do that. Like that's just such a waste of time. You could be spending that time tiering and actually playing the game. I'm like, nope. We're gonna do Marina's box. I need those resources because Chisato was mean to me. So yeah, yeah. So overall, though, again, I think if we set ourselves up better in the early game, I think we would have had a pretty good chance of actually possibly getting T1. But there was a lot of circumstances that came up that really, I guess, didn't play out the way we wanted. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I know a lot of people were not necessarily, or I guess the one thing I was worried about was people would have the perception that I would be very disappointed that I would not get the T1, because I made a pretty big fuss about the fact that I'm getting T1, I'm getting T1, I'm getting T1, right? In my mind though, like, I'm not really a guy that's like super duper competitive. And I don't really have that hunger or that drive that other people might have. That's a part of the reason why I eventually quit competitive Smash. I played competitive Smash for quite a while, and I always thought it was a lot of fun, right? I just play it for fun and try to do as best I can. But once I lost that, like once people really started to get super competitive, I really didn't use that competitive spirit to catch up with the people of the skill level. It got a bit overwhelming, and I quit, right? So for me, I was not necessarily someone who was that hungry for, necessarily like, oh, if I didn't get T1, well, T2's fine. If I don't get T2, T3 is okay. And if I get voted to T4, well, that's a boat title, and I'm perfectly fine with that too. So if, let's say, for whatever reason, UQ skipped his exams and actually played and actually voted me, like, I wouldn't be mad either, right? So I think a lot of people might find that a little bit disappointing, or maybe even frustrating at times to deal with too. It's like, okay, well, why is it that the case? But I mean, that's just how it is, right? That's how I do it. Either way though, like, I'm really proud of Baked of how he did, because he really showed and really pushed as hard as possible. Like when we said, we gave him the green light that we're gonna do everything we can to support him, like we would put all the fast fillers on G1, and me and Crane, we would be like dicking around in pubs in G2 playing with the slow devices and getting all the slow fillers. It was so funny because, like, when we had like fillers in G2 and then G1 needed fillers, I'd be like, okay, we'll get a fast filler, go into Bake's room, and they're like, oh, there's a slow guy in G1, okay, we're gonna bring him into G2. So we were fully ready to like support Baked Goods as much as we can for the T1 attempt. So I was fully prepared for that. I was fully prepared to like do what we can to support. And it may not necessarily mean I would get the title I need, but that's, again, for me, I felt like that was okay. Again, for me, the number really doesn't matter. I just thought that this was a really good experience to try and see if I'd be able to bond with people and really get to see the support that people have for me, right? Because again, for a lot of people, they were pretty surprised that I never gotten a podium title before, right? And this was my first basically podium attempt, and it was a T1 at that too. So a lot of support that I got through the server, the support I got through like social media and all that, and people kept encouraging me on, despite the fact that maybe it wasn't necessarily a T1, right? People still saw that it was a valiant effort, and people were proud, and I was really happy about that overall. One thing a lot of people might think, or maybe I also maybe thought at times, is like, I don't want to necessarily disappoint people, but you know, I think ultimately, again, as long as you feel happy about how you did, people will see that, right? If you feel happy about how proud you did, then people will see that and will be congratulating you as well, right? If you're down on yourself, it's a lot more difficult for people to kind of get in there. So yeah, it really is the friends we made along the way. So yeah, so I think if there's one thing I thought that I could have done better as well in the server is I thought I could have done a little bit more engagement. Like prior to the event, the server was pretty quiet. Like I'm not a guy that would randomly just type in my server and trying to spark people up. Like I kind of rely on other people to do that, and not a lot of people did that. So like going into the event, I was also kind of worried that like not a lot of people would want to fill for me, because it's like, you know, the server is kind of is a lot smaller. It's kind of dead. It's not that active until the event, and even during the event, it wasn't that active. Like I'll be completely honest, it wasn't that active. I did watch Fruits Basket like all of season 1 during the tiering. It was kind of tough to watch the anime while playing, but yeah, it was a lot of fun watching Fruits Basket. We watched a lot of other things, not too much. There was like a few episodes of High School Musical. We watched a few Bandai lives in the beginning. I think VC is a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I thought VC would really carry me, but one, it wasn't that active, and two, once people stopped talking, because it will happen. Oh man, that was super rough. That was difficult times for sure. So I personally like when I'm just kind of walking around, have time to myself, to think about things, and like just be able to stretch and just kind of realize that I'm not just confined in a space forever. I think for me that kind of gave me more mental clarity than you know, being constantly on the seat talking with people and like just tapping on the screen over and over again. But again, everyone's different. I'm sure people would totally be okay with going on VC, watching like movies over and over and over again to really pass time. I did acknowledge that watching Fruits Basket really helped me pass the time, and watching like lives also helped pass the time for sure. Yeah, but I think for me, VC in moderation is fine, but then, you know, you don't want to over rely on it. So overall, it was a good learning experience. I'm not sure how practical I will use it for future events, if at all. But I think this is good advice that I could give now, good advice on how to prepare for something like this. And overall, it's a pretty fun experience. Like pushing myself to see how far I could go, like 24 hours straight of nonstop, it was really painful, and I still haven't really adjusted my sleep schedule from that yet. But you know, it's really cool to see how well the human body could push itself, and I was really proud of how well I could push myself to the limits there. So again, thank you so much to everyone who was in the PBJ server. The PBJ stands for Phil and Baked Goods G. Now, I can't guarantee Baked Goods bought a G, but at least for me, myself, I didn't buy a G. So I'm pretty proud about that. So that was a little bit of a fun name there. Yeah, you don't really understand until you do it yourself, really. And again, I did find parts of the event to be really a bit of a drag, and I wasn't really enjoying myself. Definitely after like the first like 36 hours, I thought like, I don't know what, I was telling myself, why am I doing this? Like, you know, why am I even trying to do this? And it was pretty demotivating, and I was like kind of not thinking really positive thoughts about this. But when you kind of push through and you really see kind of the people supporting you and encouraging through the process, and really seeing how well you could push yourself, it was quite worth it. I think overall it was definitely quite worth it. So am I going to do something like this again? Maybe not. I think this might be a one and done kind of thing, but I'll definitely try tiering again in the future, and understanding that my body can go through that limit is really cool. I think that was something that's, regardless, is a great thing to learn for myself. So yeah, mid-event, like usually like day 1.5, day 2 is usually when you're like really kind of super demotivated, because you're at that point you have a pretty good idea of like, oh, like who is really in the lead, or maybe you're kind of hoping, okay, is that other guy gonna sleep? When is that other guy gonna sleep? And it's like, oh, well, I'll have to keep playing if that person doesn't sleep. And then it's just a lot of these negative thoughts come in. And yeah, so it was definitely, it was tough to manage at times. But I think for the most part, I think I handled myself a lot better than maybe what other people might have to experience. again, I had this mentality of like how I'm going to push through and how things are going to go. So again, there were times where sometimes I just wanted to sleep, and I'm just like, okay, let's just, really kind of pace myself. But being able to do basically two 24-hour runs at the same time is, I'll say that's a win. That's a win. Let's talk about my park. Why did I choose this park? I already mentioned it earlier, right? It was I wanted to do the park for Kudoharu. I never actually done a park for Kudoharu. I've done a park for Amita. I think it was it? It was the event that Skitter tiered straight toward the one that Skitter tiered. I did Amita and Aya Park there. I'm pretty sure. So I wanted to do a Kudoharu and Sayo Park at some point, and this is the event that, devoted towards my dream. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I did a Aya Amita Park there. So I wanted to do at least some Kudoharu and Sayo Park. Now, funny about this park. I messed up so many times because I haven't parked in like ages. So like I was around like 2,800 points away from my park, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna one flame it and try to like super grief and try to get as minimum points as possible so I get like really close, right? So I was just like, I went to a pub, I played on hard difficulty, and I was just like one-handing it, and I was just minding my own business. Like I was just like not even really looking at the screen. I was just like one-handing it, and I still won that room because I forgot to change my team. I was using my event team, so I stomped on everyone, even with the hard difficulty playing one-handed, and then I got so many points I was only 38 points off of my park, and I'm like, man. And 38 points is way too little points to work with. So I had to change my park. And I changed it a few times because I kept messing up, right? Like I kept messing up like what I needed to do. Like I went to best story, I tried to calculate it, best story would not cooperate with me. I tried to change the settings, it finally got one, and then I realized it didn't update my area items, so I had to do it again. I had to calculate it again. It was really painful. And then when I tried to do my park, my game disconnected near the end of my first song because I had a battery notification. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting that much worse of a point if I disconnect, and then I'll just recalculate it later. So I on my first attempt, I was supposed to get 342 points. I only got 318. I was like, uh-oh. So I tried to recalculate it, and Best 3 just couldn't figure it out. Like, couldn't figure out how to get the remaining points in one game. It just couldn't figure it out at all. So I had to change my park again. So the 3 in the middle here is like how many times I messed up my VS Live parking. It's how many times I messed up my VS Live parking, and then like there's still Kudoharu birthday, which is in a day-month format, and then there is the Sayo birthday, which is a month-day format. For OCD people, it's gonna be a little rough, but I'm just gonna work with it. So, but now for me, like I have my sleep caught up. I feel great. No worries there. So I'm pretty happy about like overall like the event in that aspect, right? Like the fact that my health didn't deteriorate like crazy, and I know for others it might have been pretty bad, so I just feel bad for that. But again, tiering, you just have to make sure you play within your limits and make sure you do well there, so to take care of yourself. And I'm also very fortunate to have my family to kind of support me. They heard about what I did, and they're crazy, like they think I was insane. I was like, why are you gonna stay up like 48 hours to get like a PNG, and like you're not even getting prize money? I was saying it's a competition, so like my parents were always like, oh, is there prize money? Is it prize money? It's like, no, there's no prize money, I'm just doing it, right? So they're not really understanding the point of why I'm doing this, but regardless, they still support me. They're just like, oh yeah, if you need help with like meals and such, right? Like they would prepare the meals, and my brother would be up and just make sure that I'm okay and such. So yeah, so having IRL help is definitely beneficial for sure. Why did you and some people exchange names? Oh, that's another one. Okay. That's another story I forgot to do. All right, let me talk about that story. That's actually another story I totally forgot to talk about. All right, so what happened was that even before the event started, I was kind of thinking of, oh, why don't I just pretend to be K and like tier for it, right? And at Baked Goods was like, oh, well, then I'll pretend to be Pastry, and then like we'll do that. And Pastry at the time was still going to go for T1, right? So we were thinking, oh, we will just try and steal the other person's names for T1 and go for it. But so I was kind of already going to do that idea in motion. Now, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone outside of the server. But somehow, I don't know, maybe it got leaked through the other server, but Kay thought it was funny that she would just take my name. So even before the event started, like a day before, like people are already noticing that my name was on Kay's profile. I was like, okay, I guess I'll have to just change it, and we just kind of swap names. Yeah, it's funny. That's so funny. We just thought like, oh, why don't we just switch names just for the event and just pretend to tier as the other person? So I guess we just had the same brain cell. So we were tiering, right? And people were seeing my name on the front. Now that's, again, you could kind of tell it should be an imposter because I don't use my actual username in game, right? It's always past the pals. It's never SB Philosopher. So but it's funny that people still got tripped up on that. So it's like, it's kind of funny. And then I was playing as K for a while. And like, I didn't want to change my name immediately until like at least one of us would be like, okay, can we just have our names back? Because like I didn't want to be like, hey, you should just break from tiering to change your name again, you know. So, oh, one thing I forgot to mention, guys, I'm T10 in song ranking too. I had the optimal team, so I'm like, okay, let's just go for it, right? So on my first attempt, I had a really good attempt on my first attempt, and I was already 11th in the leaderboards. I was like, oh, let's like off-site read. And like that was after 48 hours of tiering. I just woke up. I was like, okay, let's just do it. Let's go for it. And I did a pretty good run on my first attempt. Then I started molding quite a bit, and it was like really hard for me. And then there was definitely some moments where I'm just like, I can't play this at all. But I did a couple attempts here and there. I thought it was gonna be a lot more painful. But like there was a few, like let's say for instance, if I wanted to burn my nats, I would burn my nats on this song, and then I would go do sets. And generally when I did a nats, like within 3 attempts, I would improve my score just a bit. And I just kept slowly improving until I got to this score that I was just like, okay, I'm done. Funny enough, this was right in front of Houdini. So I don't know if White Whale's still here, but like Houdini was in my room that I pubbed with her. And I was like, okay, I gotta make sure that I show Houdini who's boss, because Houdini was a little below me in the ranking, and she was definitely trying to fight for it, for the top 10 spot. And I was just like kind of thinking to myself, okay, I gotta make sure I at least out gorilla Houdini. And then on that attempt, I got this score. I got this score right here. So yeah, but this song tier was rough. I still haven't AP'd this song, funny enough. This song was just this attempt here that you see here. I got a great like really early in the song, and then I just like AP'd through the rest of the way. I think this song is a little bit molding because it's so long, and I think the ops is pretty challenging. I remember seeing where the skill notes are, because like one time like there's like double notes where the skill note is on the right hand, so then you have to like make sure you do the ops there, but then there's going to be another pattern with the exact same thing. There's a double note, but it's on the left hand. So you have to remember like how to do that. And that I think is a little tricky. Yeah, it was a pretty nasty ops, but for me, I just kind of focused on like, okay, I'll just play as well as I can and hope the skill level works. So probably not the most ideal, but again, I could get away with it because I had such a whale team. I had like the op team, right? So did Nasi Goreng get banned? Yeah, Nasi Goreng's already banned. Yeah, Nasi Goreng's already banned. Monaco's on the top right now, followed by Monaco, and actually followed by Monaco right after. So yeah, Nasi Goreng's already banned. And that's why I'm 8th. That's why I'm 8th. So if Nasi Goreng was not banned, I would be 9th right now. But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so there was a guy who was score injecting like crazy. Basically, they were like pubbing, and they were getting like 4 mil score and like SOS, as Yukio mentioned, and like their score up here, right up here, it was like 3.29 million or something, or 3.93 million. It was something ridiculous. Yeah, that guy was almost an event T10. He almost was. It was like hovering around like 11, 12. Never got into T10, but always hovered around that area. So it is fully confirmed. I'm 2nd place. Oats. Oh, wow. Amazing. 2nd place. And in song tiering, I am 8th place still. Oats. Let's go. Congratulations to everyone who tiered. So this concludes my overall thoughts and share my experiences of tiering the School Excursion Hanasakiwaga Arc event in BanG Dream's worldwide server and getting second place in the event. So before I end this video and post stream, I do want to share my own individual thanks to everyone who helped contribute and make this stream possible, and really show my thanks for all the support I've gotten for the past 6 days. This is going to sound like a thank you letter that most T10s would do, but it's in a format of a video, so bear with me with this format. First of all, I want to give shout outs to Sal, who was the original creator of the ISIO server. She wanted to wait until an Aya and Sio event were featured. In this case, here we go. And we agreed that we would tier that event together. Now, due to life circumstances, she was unable to tier because she was just that busy. But I'm glad that I still have Sal as a great friend in the tiering community. I partially kind of did this tiering on behalf of her. So hopefully we'd be able to tier something like this again in the future when Aya and Sio are featured in another event. So thank you again, Sal, for being the kind of the stem of this idea of tiering this event. In addition, the other co-founders of the server, Tasha and Skitter, also very great friends of mine. Neither of them have also tiered this event, and they have really pretty much quit Bandery, but they've reinstalled Bandery just for me to help Phil for this event. So I'm truly grateful. So Tasha, thank you for doing what you can to moderate the server and also be able to send words of encouragement and also do a few fills here and there. Skitter as well, big shout outs to you for doing what you need to do with filling as well, and reinstalling the game and helping me out there. So even though the gang did not really all come together to tier, I still felt that everyone was there with me to support me. So thank you again to the original ISIO server creators. Next, I want to thank the mods. We had a couple of mods on the server, and they were there to just make sure the server runs smoothly. There were no hiccups, no troublemakers, and just make my life easier when it comes to tiering. I just focus on the tiering. They could focus on doing any mod-related things. So first of all, thank you to Emmy for being a wonderful mentor for me, giving me guidance on what needs to be done in tiering, and also just making sure that everyone in the server is working well and are supporting us through the process, and make sure we're all feeling great and feeling motivated throughout the process. First of all, thanks to Emmy for being a great moderator and a wise mentor for me when it comes to tiering, and giving me the wisdom and knowledge she has with her myriad experience in tiering to help guide me, making sure I'm doing everything right, and pushing me when that's needed. I'm sorry that we didn't have Kartabot in the server, but regardless, thank you again for taking the time to fill, taking the time to moderate, and make sure everyone, the whole team, is all on the same page and we are all working together. So thank you for that. Pasta, thank you for being a part of the server as well, helping Phil during the beginning times of the event, as well as streaming those few episodes of High School Musical. I loved your karaoke session, so keep it up, girl, and hopefully we'll see you in another event in the future. Shoutouts to Nag. Nag was a super fun presence in the server, being a great moderator, just making sure everyone's having fun. We watched a few episodes of Akiba's Maid War. It was a little strange, but regardless, and you did a great job. You basically filled for like the entire event. So I'm really happy to have you on the team, and thank you so much for being a part of it. I also give shout outs to Liz. We didn't really know each other too well prior to the event, but it was a great time speaking with you and meeting you and learning more about you. And you were a great, wonderful filler as well. You basically helped with pretty much almost every day when it comes to filling. And you were a great support for Baked. You were a great support for me, and I'm really happy to have you as part of our mod team. So thank you for taking on that job for the first time and doing quite well. Hopefully there was no issues on your device moving forward too, because I don't know what happened there. It's just unfortunate, but that's just how it is. And lastly, Scarlett, who was definitely really busy in the moderating room. She really wanted to make sure the event runs smoothly, setting up schedules, making sure fillers are available. Heck, she was even filling with 2 different devices at the same time just to make sure we had enough people. So especially during dead hours. So Scarlett, honestly, I would say you're an MVP when it comes to filling, and thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of making sure the server was run smoothly and moderating it well, and also being a great filler. So thank you for that. I do want to give shout outs to my roster next, of course. Baked, congratulations on your T3. I know, again, the result isn't what we all expected, but I hope that you had a great experience regardless, and this is a great learning experience moving forward. I think at the end of the day, the fact that you are still, healthy and you're still well and you didn't push yourself over the edge, I think at the end of the day, health is most important. So regardless, I am very proud of you. The hunger and the drive you had to try and push for that T1 is something I never would thought I'd ever have. And that's why I was able to rally everyone to get behind you and support you. So regardless, Bake, you did a wonderful job. I hope we will tier again soon, which we will, but Otsu, and rest well. Hopefully we'll see you very soon, and I wish you luck on those next tiering adventures. Crane, big congrats on your T4. It was great to have you on the roster because I knew that the moment you shared interest in joining the roster, I knew I had to get you into the roster somehow because I know of all the flameless hours that you've done and just the experience you have. Again, device issues aside, it was just a lot of fun to still tier with you. Our G2s were a lot of fun, even though they were a little bit on the slower side, and just learning, just voice chatting with you and just learning more about you was a great experience overall. So Crane, big shout outs to you. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm also glad that I was also a part of the reason why you started tiering. So I'm really happy to hear that we were able to work together on that. So hopefully you'll continue tiering, and best of luck in your next tiering adventures. Big shout outs to Pastry. Pastry, I was honestly relieved when you DM'd me saying that you weren't going for T1 and going for T10 and wanted to join my roster. I think your wisdom, your level-headedness, and just your overall experience in tiering has really helped mentor me throughout ever since I started tiering way back when we did the first ISIO event. Pastry, I'm really glad to have you as part of the roster and be able to guide me. And I was, it's been a great pleasure once more to tier with you in another event featuring Sayo. So unfortunately, with COVID kind of hitting, you couldn't actually go for the T1 because unironically you could have went for it. But regardless, it was great that you were able to get another chill T10 and you'll be able to rest well. So take it easy and all the best in your next tiering adventures as well. I also want to give a shout out to the competing server as well, the 3A and 3B, and congratulating them on their achievement. K in particular, congratulations on T1. You worked your butt off and it was well deserved that you got your first place. Almost sleeping nonstop for more than 48 hours is absolutely insane. So big props to you. Congratulations on your double T1. And I think at the end of the day, I'm glad that as a competitor that we were all good sports about it either. I think that's the main thing, that as long as all of us had fun and when there isn't any bitter thoughts about it, then everything works out. So big congratulations to you on that achievement. The rest of the 3A, 3B server, congratulations to Viz, to Yukio, to Trick, to Envy, and as well as Maski for your T10 achievements. Congratulations on that. Rest well, and thank you again for being great competitors. I do want to give shout outs to those who joined me in voice chat throughout the event. These individuals may not have necessarily played the game with me, but were there just to give encouraging words and just have some fun while we were playing the game. So people like Koss, Noodle, Yvette's, Feathers, and SC. You all may not necessarily have played with me, but still had a great time in VC and making sure that I had topics to discuss and have fun with. So regardless, you guys were all a part of this, this community and be able to help me get this goal. So I thank you for that as well. I also want to give a shout out to the Yuri Knights server as well. There were times where I was also in their server as well, going in voice chat, and have been very, very fun to join them and be able to pass the time while I was tiering. So first shout outs to Kumari. Q, thank you for matching my Kita Ikuyo tag with your Nijika, and just for being a great filler. You actually filled so much for me, so big shout outs to you. Shout outs to Tane, who was able to share a bunch of anime movies and shows with me during the dead hours, because for some reason she doesn't sleep. So thank you again for giving some distractions there. And then we had a couple other people who joined, like Shin, Greta, Tilt and Prissy and many more. So big shout outs to the server there. And thank you for being able to help pass time while I was tiering. Lastly, big thank you. Lastly, a huge thank you to all the fillers who took part in this event and helped with making sure that rooms are full and being there when necessary and playing rooms with me, because again, without your support, I would never got the score that you see on the screen. So fillers are the real MVP, and now being at this position where I'm in podium, I really understand and really appreciate that. You know, the fillers work is truly appreciated. So I'm very grateful for your help. So I'll be naming all of you, but if for whatever reason I miss your name, I'm sorry. I'll probably put a pinned comment in the video below, but just to let you know, I do want to appreciate every single one of you. So Sinna, Haven, PP Tenshi, Kira Lemonade, May, Crump, Atoto, Toto, Koto, and yes, those are 3 different people. Shubi, Dernick, Shimmerleaf, Jeeb, Johnny, Hexamy, Eureka, Xander, Blurry, Aster, Kate, Lessica, Sal, there's another Sal, Alex, Anth, Aqua Party, Choki, Elise, Kimashi, Goyo, Insane, Kib, Tenzin, Jellyfish, The Real Otaku, Ting, Ziyu, Santa, Falafel, Grow, Midori, Nolark, Cafe, Raven, PB Sky, Sen, Leo, Ruby, Sunny, Damien, Hanazono. And of course, all the people I've mentioned prior, our mod team, Emmy, Tasha, Pasta, Nag, Liz, Scarlett, Skitter, and Q, all contributed to filling. So thank you all so much for doing that. Again, the amount of support and effort you've done for us and for me to get this T2 title, I can't say enough thanks. So once again, I thank everyone who's stayed up to this point to watch this video, and also for everyone who supported me on my first ever podium title. So thank you again for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye now.